What was that? I did like a whoa. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just want to cry. Hello book reading friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Melanie, and today I am here with my most anticipated releases of 2021, the top 10 books to read in the following year. And this is technically round 2 because I already put up my most anticipated releases of 2021. But I did miss some books that I didn't include in that video because I didn't want that video to be eternal. However, I am here with a second installment to talk about 10 more books that I am incredibly excited that are coming out next year. There should be a little bit of everything in this video. We have fantasy books, we have sci-fi books, we have contemporary books, and let me know down below what are some of your most anticipated releases, because I know still to this day they are dropping covers, they are dropping books, they are dropping titles, and there's still a ton of stuff to be announced. So I don't doubt that next year I'll still be putting up videos about books on my radar, because there are so many good books coming out next year and I want to read all of them. If you have yet to subscribe to my channel, don't forget to do so down below for more bookish content. I am constantly uploading videos that I'm sure you do not want to miss. I am also sprinting throughout the week, so you definitely do not want to miss that either, so we can squeeze in the last few books of 2020. You can also follow me on all my social medias, which are always linked down below, as well as my Amazon wish list. And yeah, without further ado, if you guys want to see more anticipated releases of 2021, then just keep on watching. What was that? I did like a whoa. So the first book on my list is one that did not make the list last time, primarily because if I'm not mistaken, by the point where that video came out, I still had yet to read this book series. Now that I have read it, I am more than excited for this book. Like, the way that I am just screaming because I need this book in my hands right now is unreal. I'm talking about The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now, I put up my reading vlog for the From Blood and Ash series by JLA. I read book 1 and 2, which is From Blood and Ash, and The Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So if you want to check out all of my spoiler-free thoughts on those two books, I will leave a link down below so you can go and check that out. However, so as to not spoil book 3, because again, it's book 3, it's bound to be hella spoilery, I will tell you a brief synopsis for book 1 so you get an idea of where this book goes. We follow Poppy, who is a maiden, and she was chosen from the womb by the gods, and she is seen by the kingdom as this very holy-like figure. She cannot be touched, she cannot be talked to, she cannot be addressed, and she is connected to every ascension of the kingdom. And the ascension is the ceremony that a lot of people need to go through. However, it is very mysterious, and the nature of the ascension is still pretty much unknown to the majority of the kingdom. So the king and queen, in order to ensure Poppy's ascension, because she is such an important figure, they assign her a royal guard by the name of Hawk Flynn to ensure that she makes that very, very important day. However, Poppy, being so sheltered, not really knowing the ways of the world, when she meets Hawk, she starts feeling things that she had never felt before, and her life will never be the same after meeting this very, very important character. This is a fantasy romance. It is new adult. I just enjoyed these two books so much. So again, if you want to check out all my thoughts, the link will be down below. But the second book, I gave the second book 5 out of 5 stars. That second book was stellar. Like, it just gave me everything I needed in regards to world building, in regards to steam, character development. The writing improved a hell of a lot from book 1, and the second book ends with a really big cliffhanger that is not fair to anyone. The way that JLA popped off on that very last chapter was not fair to any of us. So again, the way I desperately need book 3, unreal. The cover also just did a switch. It's just a stunning moment overall. Also, the way I need some sort of Kieran Castile Poppy action, the way I just need this book, not necessarily to be polyamorous, but to just have some sort of action. Don't get me started, okay? The next book on my list, are we surprised, is a thriller. I had to throw in a thriller here. Like, if I didn't throw in a thriller, what type of reader would I be? Especially because I do want to branch out to other genres next year, and this is an author that is very hyped here on Booktube. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this author depending on the book. However, the general consensus, people quite enjoy his books, and that is Riley Sager, and he is coming out with a new novel called Survive the Night next year. And just listen to the very top of the synopsis. That's literally what got me. I usually don't like books that take place in the span of 24 hours. However, the premise of this sounds so interesting. Like, I really hope it proves me wrong. It says, it's November 1991. George H.W. Bush is in the White House. Nirvana is in the tape deck, and movie-obsessed college student Charlie Jordan is in a car with a man who might be a serial killer. Oh my god, does that sound interesting? Like, you hooked me right away. So the main character of this book is Charlie, and Charlie is in a car with a man named John Baxter, who is a virtual stranger to Charlie. These two individuals met very, very recently on campus because they were trying to find someone to share a long drive back home to Ohio. Both of these characters obviously have very different motivations. Charlie's is to get away from the grief and the guilt of the murder of her best friend, who was murdered by a so-called campus killer. And for Josh, it's actually to go help his sick father. Like the Hitchcock heroine she's named after, Charlie has her doubts. There's something suspicious about Josh. What follows, and you know this is one of my favorite dynamics to read and watch, okay, you know, is a game of cat and mouse played out on night crowded roads and in neon lit parking lots during an age when the only call for help can be made on a payphone and in a place where there's nowhere to run. This book just sounds incredible. Again, I am not typically a fan of stories that take place in the span of 24 hours. However, it being a thriller, I think it could really work out for me, besides the fact that it has one of my favorite dynamics to read about and watch in movies or TV shows, which is the cat and mouse game. I love this when it's very well executed. And if I am basing myself off other people's opinions on Riley Sager, I really, really hope this book does not disappoint. And just the concept of somebody being stuck in a car that they are highly suspicious of that might have killed their best friend and may just be a serial killer. This just sounds like a drama-filled, stressful read that will have a lot of foreshadowing and a lot of clues that I will be able to play detective with. And if you know anything about me, I love to play detective while I read myself a good thriller. The next book on my list is actually a sci-fi. Now, again, I have been really interested in sci-fi books lately, and this is an author that I have never read anything by. However, I have heard a lot of hype surrounding his other novel called The Martian, and this synopsis in particular sounds incredibly intriguing, and I am talking about Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. In this book, we follow Ryland Grace, who is the sole survivor of a very desperate mission on space. In fact, this mission is so important that if he fails, humanity and Earth will perish. There's only one teeny tiny teensy problem, which is actually a very big problem. He doesn't know that he needs to complete this mission. Ryland is in so deep that he can't remember his mission. He can't even remember his own name. The only thing he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he has now awakened surrounded by corpses for company. Again, I am not very big into sci-fi novels. I do like me a good sci-fi movie every now and again, but there's just something about this genre that's been calling me lately. This novel in particular, the synopsis is so well crafted. It's giving you nothing beside the fact that there is a man on space by himself, surrounded by dead people, and he has a very important mission that he can't remember. I think the possibility of having a character in space that is almost an unreliable narrator in a way, because his memories are very fuzzy and he can't seem to remember exactly what he's there for, sounds incredibly interesting. I have never read anything Andy Weir, so I don't know anything about his writing, but based on the premise alone, this seems like something that I will quite enjoy. All right, don't yell at me. Don't you worry. I got a fantasy next, and I am also really excited about this one because I have heard certain people hype this book up, but not being able to talk too much about it because it's not out until April, if I'm not mistaken. And that is Witches Steeped in Gold by Cyanon Smart. Cyanon? Again, good tagline. Incredibly good tagline. Listen to this. Divided by their castes, united by vengeance. First off, any story that has to deal with vengeance, I am there for. There's just something so intriguing about a character going on this path of revenge that may or may not be right. It's just interesting. It's interesting to go into a character's head where they aren't exactly in the healthiest of mind spaces. So again, they are almost unreliable with the way that they act, and they could borderline become a villain. So that in and of itself grabbed me. Vengeance, I'm there. Tell me more. We have two main characters in this book, and the first one is actually Araya. And Araya has spent her life on a cell. She cannot wait to get out of there, and in fact, every day brings her closer to her freedom. Also, her very best motivation, vengeance. On the other hand, we have Jasmine, who is the queen's daughter, and unlike her sister before her, she has no intention to die to strengthen her mother's power. These two characters are sworn enemies, but they come together with a common purpose. They both want to take out a mutual threat. However, the power of vengeance is too strong, and it is just a matter of time before we find out exactly what people are capable to enact that revenge. If you have watched any of my recent videos, then you'd know that as of lately, I am very intrigued to read more modern literature with witches on them. Whether it be a classic spin on the Salem trials, or whether it be something completely fantastical and made up, as is this book. And this is actually a Jamaican-inspired fantasy. And if you know me, anything to do with folklore, anything to do with specific cultures is something that really intrigues me. One of my goals for 2021 is definitely to delve deeper into different cultures and different works from marginalized authors that will bring something to my attention that wasn't there before. So this definitely fits that mold that I am trying to fill next year. Again, the concept of betrayal and vengeance, and again, somebody that is on the brink of being almost like an unreliable narrator, maybe a villain, somebody who has an ulterior motive that may stray away from the actual mission. It all sounds like a very complex, intricate plot that I am here for. Another fantasy on my list that I found very recently, in fact, I don't think I've heard a lot of people talk about this, if any, and it is These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. This book is being pitched as a Court of Thorns and Roses meets The Cruel Prince. I am completely ignoring the Cruel Prince part. I don't think I ever intend on reading The Cruel Prince. However, the ACOTAR section really intrigues me because, as you know, I really love ACOTAR. In lore, the Fae really intrigue me, and I don't really have a lot of basis for that beside every fantasy book that I've read that incorporates the Fae in them, and this is no different. We follow Bree in this book, and Bree hates the Fae. In fact, she wants nothing to do with them, and she'd avoid them every chance she gets, even if it means sleeping on the streets. Her entire life changes, however, when her sister is actually sold to the sadistic, unseelie king. And of course, she'll do whatever it takes to rescue her sister, including making a deal with said king to steal 3 magical items from the Seelie court. Access to this court is very, very limited, and Bree's only chance is to pose as a potential bride for Prince Ronan, and she soon finds herself falling for him, but she cannot let her heart get in the way because she must remember her mission at all costs. This sounds very romance heavy, and I do have to admit, whenever I'm reading fantasy, I do like myself a good, strong romance subplot, so this definitely, in regards to the romantic aspect of it, sounds like something that I would enjoy. It also involves one of my favorite tropes, which is somebody going undercover and pretending to be somebody that they're not. Secret identities and people falling in love with said secret identity is super intriguing to me. I love seeing that dynamic in books, and also by the sounds of it, this character is going to struggle a lot between 3 sides: the unseelie, the seelie, and then this band of misfits. It just sounds like a lot of ulterior motives all around. And again, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book, so I will definitely be giving this one a go in 2021. And I do have to say, I see the similarities a lot more to The Cruel Prince than I do A Court of Thorns and Roses based on the synopsis itself. Another fantasy, but this one is heavily focused on Greek mythology, and as you know, that is one of my favorite things to read about ever since I was younger and I got introduced to Rick Riordan and the Percy Jackson world. I got really interested in mythology. In fact, since I was very, very young, I lived in a household that mythology was always a big thing, so it always interests me to see how authors will take that very classic mythology and warp it in a way to make it their own, to make it original, to make it new and appealing to new readers. And this is also an author that I have never read anything by, and I am talking about Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I hadn't really heard about this book before the most anticipated releases videos started coming out, and I saw this in a lot of people's videos, so I went on Goodreads hunting for this book, and truly, this just seems like something that I will love. In this book, every 7 years, the Aegon begins. As punishment for a past rebellion, 9 gods are banished to Earth to walk it as mortals. And on top of that, they are being haunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines. Every descendant has different motivations, but some of them align. They are eager to kill, and they are eager to take the powers of immortality from a god itself. And in this book, we follow Lore Perseus, who long ago fled this brutal world after the murder of her parents by a rival line. For years and years, she's pushed away the idea of revenge against this man, now a god, who destroyed her life years in the past. However, nothing is that simple. As the next hunt draws near in New York City, she is not only approached by a childhood friend, but also by a deeply wounded Athena, which is one of the last original gods left. The goddess offers an alliance against their mutual enemy, and at last, a way for Lore to leave the Aegon behind forever. But Lore's decision to bind her fate to Athena's and rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost, and still may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with the power to bring humanity to its knees. It's exactly the same thing that I was talking to you guys before. The revenge plot is there, and I am always super interested to see how that plays out, but particularly in the setting, we see that revenge plot trying to play against gods who have a lot of power against this person who may not be as powerful, and I am really interested to see exactly how that dynamic will play out. We have Greek mythology, something that has interested me since I was really young, and on top of that we have a lot of high stakes, a lot of moving parts that may or may not benefit this main character. I don't know if this is coincidental or not, but the cover is also giving me Medusa vibes. If it has anything to do with Medusa, that is also a character within the mythology realm that really interests me, so I'm just saying, this book sounds great all around, okay? I had to throw in a contemporary in here because I did not know this book was coming out next year until very recently, and I don't know if this has anything to do with A Very Large Expanse of Sea, but the cover looks very similar, and the premise also sounds around the same realm that A Very Large Expanse of Sea was in. And it is An Emotion of Great Delight by Tahir Amafi. Again, I don't know if these two books are related in any way, shape, or form, but the synopsis makes it seem that way. So as to not butcher the synopsis, I will read parts of it, and it says, it's 2003, several months since the US officially declared war on Iraq, and the American political world has evolved. Tensions are high, hate crimes are on the rise, and the Muslim community is harassed and targeted more than ever. Chatty, who wears hijab, keeps her head down. She's too busy drowning in her own troubles to find the time to deal with bigots. Her brother is dead, her father is dying, her mother is falling apart, and her best friend has mysteriously dropped out of her life. And then, of course, there's the small matter of her here. It's broken. Chatty tries to navigate her crumbling world by soldiering through, saying nothing. An Emotion of Great Delight is a searing look into the world of a single Muslim family in the wake of 9/11. I just want to cry because when I was reading A Very Large Expanse of Sea, that book was just incredible. Again, the themes were so important, and I love reading hard-hitting contemporaries. And this one in particular hits very close to home. I am definitely ready to read this book, and if it's half as good as A Very Large Expanse of Sea was, I'll just be ecstatic about this. I just am personally the type of person that I prefer to read a contemporary that is not necessarily lighthearted, but that deals with everyday issues, that can help people understand situations better, and that can educate people on certain subjects that they wouldn't be educated on otherwise by choice. And so I'm just excited all around for this one. I had no idea this one was coming out, but when I saw it on Goodreads, I was like, wait, hold up, and I had to include it on this video immediately. I believe this one was announced fairly recently because I saw the cover going around on Twitter, and it is actually Gear Breakers by Zoe Hana Mikuta. And this book, the cover, chef's kiss. On top of that, it is sapphic, and it's like sci-fi fantasy. I feel like that fantasy element would balance out the sci-fi that I am just now trying to get into. So it kind of seems like the best of both worlds on this one. This is a debut novel, but it is being pitched with so many great titles that the hype for it just keeps building for me. The synopsis mentions Pacific Rim, Red Rising, which is a series that I am very interested in reading in 2021, and then Legend by Mary Lou, which I never read, but the hype for that was like unreal. Like everyone adores that book. Listen to this. We went past praying to deities and started to build them instead. Like that, like right off the bat, like I need to know how that plays out. What does that mean in the first place? I think anything otherworldly is really intriguing to me. In this universe, we have Godolia, whose tyrannical rule is spreading, and the people of the Badlands who live under the thumb of Godolia are constantly suffering through this rule. We follow Eris, who is a gear breaker and a rebel, and her one job is to tear wind-ups from the inside, which are this world's mechanical weapons. When one of her missions goes awfully wrong, she finds herself in a Godolian prison. There she meets Sona, who was a cybernetically enhanced wind pilot. At first, she sees Sona as her mortal enemy, but soon enough, she starts figuring out that Sona has hidden motivations of her own. As the clock ticks down and attacks are on the rise, Ares and Sona grow closer into friends, comrades, and perhaps even more. Again, sapphics in space, sci-fi, fantasy. There's a war brewing, there's rebels, there's somebody with a hidden motivation. But I will say, it's that catch line that got me, the deities thing. It just keeps haunting me because I need to find out exactly how it works. And then the cover also was just a plus, so I am definitely always down to support a debut author. Another one that its cover got released very, very recently, and I cannot stop thinking about it because the cover is just like unbelievably stunning. Like, I cannot stop staring. And it is This Poison Heart by Kayleen Barron. Kayleen Barron also wrote Cinderella is Dead, and the hype for that book was real. Everyone that I know has read it has adored that book. I still have yet to read it, but I really, really am interested in reading that. And this is also a Secret Garden retelling. And I am 50-50 with retellings. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't like them. But based on the hype surrounding Kayleen Barron and the fact that she already did a Cinderella retelling, this promises, okay? There is promise here. I already know I'm gonna butcher this main character's name. Is it Briseis? But, however, it says, Brisay has a gift. She can grow plants from tiny seeds to rich blooms with a single touch. When her aunt dies and wills her a dilapidated estate in rural New York, Bri and her parents decide to leave Brooklyn behind for the summer. But their new home is sinister in ways they could never have imagined. It comes with a specific set of instructions, an old school apothecary, and a walled garden filled with the deadliest botanicals in the world. One of her visitors is Mary, a mysterious young woman who Bri befriends, only to find that Mary is keeping dark secrets about the history of the estate and its surrounding community. I don't need to read any more of that synopsis because it keeps going, but it just sounds so interesting. I have never read The Secret Garden, and then on top of that, a mysterious lady that comes in holding secrets of her own and the people surrounding them, an estate that almost has a life of its own, and then powers that this character possesses that people are seeking. It just sounds like an all-around incredible read. This is a mix between contemporary and then fantasy. I guess in a way it would be magical realism, like that is one of the categories on Goodreads from what I could see. But again, based on the track record of this author in the past with Cinderella is Dead and the fact that everyone loved that book, I am just ready to dive into this one because it just sounds really, really cool. And I believe this book is sapphic as well, so that is also a plus. And the hype for this one was real on Twitter when people started seeing this cover. So I am definitely glad that I waited a little bit more to make the second installment of the video because I could include this one in here. And then the last one on my list is actually a contemporary written in verse, and it is Muted by Tammy Charles. The synopsis of this book gave me the vibes of Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I have not read that book. I own it now thanks to one of you who sent it my way. Thank you so much. And I know Grown was one of Kristen's favorite books and more with Kristen G. You know the deal. And anything that Kristen loves, I am down for reading. And so when I saw that this had some sort of similarity to Grown, I was absolutely there for it. And I will say, books written in verse, because of their format, especially if you listen to the audiobook as you read with your eyes and you hear the intention behind the words, it just hits so much harder. I know I'm gonna cry. I'm a crybaby. Tagline, again, be bold, get seen, be heard. I already know this book is gonna be bomb. In this book, we follow 17-year-old Denver, and music is everything to her. Music is her escape, her way to communicate with the world, and her one chance to flee her very small, very white hometown. Denver is more than ready to escape her world, and alongside two best friends, Sally and Shaq, they sing their way to the top until they get recognized by this very big R&B singer called Sean Mercury Ellis. Mercury gives them everything, from the parties to the connections to the recording hours, and they truly do feel like every sacrifice and lie they are telling is worth it for this experience, until they're not. Soon Denver realizes that she is stuck in Mercury's world and she can no longer find her voice, and so it is up to her to decide whether she wants to stay here silent and broken, or if she wants to lose her big break and keep herself forever. This is inspired by true events, and I am guessing this is also inspired on what Grown was inspired about. So there are a lot of similarities between these two books, but this one is written in verse. And I am just excited to explore both of these novels because I am also reading Grown next year. And this truly promises a lot of what I like in contemporaries, which are, again, I cannot say this enough, hard-hitting contemporaries with very important topics that need to be discussed. And if they can be brought up in literature to reach the masses, that is even more incredible. So this is definitely one that I am the most excited about. And those are all the books that I have for you guys today. The top 10 books to read in 2021, my most anticipated releases of 2021. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up and comment down below what are some of your most anticipated releases for next year. Again, I know titles and covers are being dropped left and right now because some aren't even confirmed until earlier 2021. So I think it's inevitable that there will be another installment on this series because there are some second installments that I am ready for that, again, have no title and that have no cover yet. So it is very possible that it'll happen. If you reach the end of the video, let's comment down below a star emoji. Super random, but I just felt like saying the star emoji. So let's leave the star emoji. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more bookish content. I am constantly uploading videos that I'm sure you do not want to miss, as well as live streaming throughout the week. You can also follow me on all of my social medias, which are always linked down below, as well as my Amazon wish list. And yeah, that is it for today. I love all of you, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.